Ladies and gentlemen, we would like to continue the program. Today, KardiaChain is extremely honored to receive the attention and contribution of leading blockchain projects in the world, bringing them to ecosystem of practical application of blockchain in many aspects of life. Right after this one, the organizer would like to invite our speaker come on stage again. I would like to invite Mr. Nguyễn Ngọc Hưng, Chủ tịch KardiaChain. I would like to introduce Mr. Chung Xin-Ming, CEO of Blockcloud, Mr. Mick Chisai, co-founder of Contentos, Mr. Noah Wang, CFO, CMO, and co-founder of Top Network. And once again, we would like to introduce Mr. Kim Bong-o, head of ETF Kennel Circle for moderator. Kính thưa quý vị có thể cho các diễn giả của chúng ta một tràng pháo tay thật lớn được không ạ?
All right, so we're on round 2 of the panel today. I guess we always just start off with a quick introduction about yourselves and a little bit more about your project or what you guys are working on. Would you like to start? Yeah.
Okay, hello everyone. My name is Mick. I'm a co-founder of Contentos. Contentos is the content blockchain, and we aim to become the largest decentralized content ecosystem around the world, helping the global content creator really get the value from their creations. And so far, because we our partnership with QTUM Mobile and LiveMe, we have more than 60 million monthly active users out there. So that's one of our advantage compared with any similar project.
Okay. Wow, 60 million. All right, can I ask?
Thank you. This is Zhou Xingming from Blockcloud. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Blockcloud. Blockcloud is a blockchain-based advanced TCP/IP that provides constant connectivity for dynamic networks. Our focus areas includes Internet of Things, streaming services, edge computing, 5G technology, and smart city. And we have a large community with about 600,000 community members around the world, and we are the first IO project of OKX. And it's really our pleasure to be here, and thank you.
Great to have you. All right.
Okay, I'm Noah. I'm the co-founder of Top Network, and Top Network is based in Silicon Valley, and we pretty much do 3 things. And first of all, we have a public blockchain, we call it Top Chain, and we also have a communication service platform and to be built on the public blockchain, and also we have dApps, including the proxy, which is a VPN, and the encrypted messaging app. And we have over 60 million users around the world. And so the biggest competitor is Telegram, and you can just compare us into them. And for Top, we have 3 offices in Hangzhou, Nanjing, and Silicon Valley with 150 employees. Thank you.
Hello there, my name is Hưng Nguyễn. I'm the chairman and co-founder of KardiaChain. So KardiaChain is a blockchain platform focused on interchain connections, and our goal is to work with the government, business, and developers to bring blockchain adoption to the mass.
And yeah, you guys met me earlier, so Kimball, head of BD for Canal Circle. All right, so we got a few minutes. We have open for audience to ask questions too, if you guys like. But I guess I just start off with the first few questions they gave me. So we know that most blockchains are a bit silo. Everyone has their own, either their own protocol, a fork, or something else. And it makes things a bit difficult to get mass adoption, I felt. What do you guys think about the key features or the key importance of blockchain interoperability towards mass adoption?
Okay, I think Facebook is supposed to reveal their Zebra project. So that once they disclose and start introducing the stablecoin to worldwide, that means like 10 billions of global population will start using something related to blockchain. This is for the first time that so many people are using it. But most of them probably never aware of that. But we can foresee more and more people will start using something related to blockchain. Then they will all of a sudden they start figuring out, if I have to move those digital assets from one place to the other place, it's now become impossible. So I think it can be start thinking that interoperability will become more and more important in this whole ecosystem. And for Contentos, because start from early of this year, we help a lot of other dApps, for example, like Hypersnack from Mixed Model, And like blockchain QT on Ethereum, we help them to get the user, do the user acquisition program. But now it's more like just drive a user to their app. We cannot helping them to move the digital asset. Once we start having those interoperability, that means we can not just drive user, but also lending them to carry their digital asset from one blockchain to the other. That would be, I think that would be important to massive adoption.
Okay. So we talk about digital assets being available on different blockchains, right? Porting them over rather than in different silos.
I'm a researcher in the internet technology field, and if we look back to the involvement of the internet technology, we see that interoperability is really important, or the fundamental idea of the success of the internet. Because, for example, being the fundamental technology of the internet, the IP protocol is interoperable to all kinds of upper layer or lower layer protocols. That's the key, one of the key features of the success of the current internet. So I believe that interoperability is also very important to the blockchain space because we believe the blockchain is still very young and evolving, and it is too early to see that we can use one blockchain technology to solve all the problems. So I think interoperability is really important, and we would like to collaborate with partners and projects in this field.
Just as you know that we are in the communication industry, and so no matter which country you are currently in, and you have to use apps and to communicate with others. And for example, most of us are using Telegram in the blockchain world. In China, most people use WeChat, and people in the US use Facebook Messengers. But you see that you cannot send messages among the different platforms. And so what Tom Network is doing is that we are creating a platform on the blockchain so that everyone could communicate with each other without borders. And that's why blockchain is built for. And so if I say that the best usage for blockchain will be in the communication industry and for people to communicate around the world without any barriers. And so in terms of mass adoption, I think, and what TOP is doing is to create an environment for people and to have a better user experience and when they communicate with each other.
Yeah. Yes. So for interoperability, the way we think about it is as mass adoption. If you have an D app and suddenly you talk with your friend and you suddenly have to ask your friend which platform your D app run on, I think that is too much trouble for the end user. We think of interoperability in a way that, when blockchain enter mass adoption, it needs to be seamless. It needs to be invisible, just like, electricity or internet. You don't really even need to know the deep layer of internet to use it, to see the benefit of it, right? And we think of, interoperability is like, WhatsApp when it first introduced. Before WhatsApp, you had iOS, you had Android, you had BlackBerry, and within each of those platforms, you cannot send iMessage between them. You can send an iMessage between iOS, but you cannot send iMessage between iOS and Android. But WhatsApp is like a bridge. It bridges all the operating system, and suddenly you have a platform that you can text people like on iMessage like directly, regardless of which platform they are on. And that's how we think of interoperability. I think it should be a crucial step to bring towards a mass adoption that at some point people need to use blockchain. It's as seamless as the current technology, and once it works really well, you don't even need to know that actually it's a blockchain behind. It just purely makes your life better and improves the user experience.
So I guess a quick recap is we make it a lot more seamless to work within different technologies or different blockchains for digital assets, communications, and many different aspects. We've seen it for, I guess, many formats and different technologies in the past, from internet protocols to even video cassettes and DVDs and whatever back in the day. I guess the question here is, what stops the ability to create some interoperability? Is it purely technology? Is it how businesses and people and systems work and think? What are your thoughts on what's a challenge to interoperability?
I think let's look back 30 years ago. There's so many internet protocol. We got like the TCP/IP. I don't recall, but there's so many protocol. Every time we install Windows 95, you have to select a lot of things, right? So, but now most people probably don't need to worry about that. Just plug and play. Everything just go. You don't even need to figure out. Yeah, just. So I believe this is kind of early age. So we start exploring different type of technology, and based on the use case, based on the true need, then you start evolving. So I think that in next few years, we definitely will see more and more player in this domain, and everybody will start come up something that eventually will come up a point that we can work all together. There's no single chain, but every chain can talk to each other.
Any thoughts from you guys?
Okay, thank you. This is a very interesting and good question. So, speaking of the internet protocol, so there was a fun story that the internet protocol, the IP, was not mathematically proved or engineerily proved to be right, but it was voted to be the internet protocol because of 40 years ago, when the internet engineering task force wanted to decide which internet protocol will dominate the internet. People had different ideas, and finally they couldn't agree with each other. And so the final decision was that, we had a vote, and then IP won the vote. And the story told us that even for the fundamental technology of the internet, 40 years ago, people could not tell what technology was the best. So we really need to try. We really need to provide more kinds of innovative solutions and to adopt them to various vertical areas and to see which one fits the features of the area best, and then maybe in the coming 2 or 3 or 5 years, and we can find out, something is wrong, something is good. And the interoperability is also moving forward towards this way, I think.
Actually, I think the security would be the most important reason that why people think that communication has a lot of barriers, and because just like maybe if you pay attention to the news in U.S. and China, and the U.S. government is trying hard and to beat Huawei, which is a communication service provider and a device provider in China. The reason behind it is that the United States is afraid that maybe the Chinese government or Chinese companies could see all the information is exchanged in the United States, especially some security, high-level security messengers. But I think most of the barriers is not necessary, and because with the development of the business and the economy, people need more and more transparent environment and to develop the whole world, especially the business and the energy and the technology and everything. But maybe because people are still afraid that some people will fall behind of others, or some countries is afraid that it will be surpassed by other countries, and I think that's the most important reason. But with blockchain, everything could be changed easily, but it needs a long way to go.
I guess for me is that in blockchain space it's special because it's still very early phase, and in this phase people experiment a lot, right? There's no single theory. Sorry, yeah. this blockchain model is the best. So there's a lot of experimentation, there's a lot of iterations, just like I guess when you first look at the first iPhone we introduced, there's a lot of brush of iPhone, and people try to do it a lot of different ways. Like one have a very good camera, one very good screen, one have huge screen, one have small screen. All that sort of thing is all experiments. And then slowly over time, converging, there's certain like a industry standard. I think blockchain as a whole, we need to go through that period as well. And another thing that is unique about blockchain is that, each blockchain, there are certain blockchain that were designed with a very specific use case in mind. There are some, able to process very high transaction speed, but the transaction is not very complex. The other were able to handle more complex transaction, but the TPS is not as high, the scalability is not as high. Some sacrifice security for scalability and vice versa. So I think a blockchain, when it comes to mass adoption, is going to be working two major axes. One is that the projects that with very top-notch security is still going to be technology is still going to be around. The second is going to be around the geographical axis. I think just like how we see Viber really popular in Vietnam, KakaoTalk in Korea, and then like in Japan, each of those apps, they have a tailored, very specific local taste. Otherwise, I think if everything converges to a single point, maybe everyone use WhatsApp or I don't know, right? So I think that's, I think also come back to our core philosophy that we believe in the diversity of the ecosystem. We just try to find ways that each of the blockchain can retain its originality while still able to tap into the bigger and wider ecosystem of blockchain.
Okay, thank you. Yes, I think it's always quite interesting to see how the protocols will come out in the future and how the play between different formats, different protocols, different ways of thinking, the different features will come out. And I guess, we don't know, maybe it's a voting system, maybe it's just interoperability, and everyone builds their own niche. It'll be interesting to see how the future will hold. I guess, which would lead to this kind of question I have here is, all panelists here have kind of a different ecosystem or different industry they're focused on. How does blockchain at the moment really enhance that? And how does interoperability enhance what you guys do?
Okay, I think for the content part, you got to figure out what kind of things that centralized content platform cannot do or they refuse to do. Very funny story is last night I was being interviewed by KTS Group, which is a popular influencer group in here. And after finishing the interview, they told me that Facebook actually banned that interview because we got so many share in the small amount of time. So Facebook think we are spamming. They simply banned us. So we don't get much attention in the end. But this revealed a very interesting thing is that all those centralized platforms, they set up a rule. This rule actually just be applied probably 2 to 3 days ago because last week when they go live, it's not happening. So it shows this is kind of current issue for all the centralized content platform and all the global content creators, they have to tolerate it. They have to just accept that. So they don't have any option or alternative way to publish their content. That's the reason why we foresee in the future probably a decentralized content platform will be able to allow them to really control their content, get the power of their content and really enjoy the value of their content. So that's the reason why we're trying to build this ecosystem, give them a kind of option. Hopefully in the future they will be able to really enjoy their content creation.
Okay, thank you.
Speaking of Blockcloud, we are doing our jobs in the transport layer and network layer of the internet stack to improve the performance of the internet. And by looking back to the history, the internet evolved like a very simple peer-to-peer network to a cloud computing era. And then, so we believe the next step is that most of the computational power and the transport power will be disseminated to the edge of the network with the development of with the development of the 5G technology and edge computing. So maybe most of the electronic devices will be connected to the internet. So if we want to connect to so many like billions of devices and to use the computational power or storage or bandwidth power of those edge devices, we do need to provide credibility and incentives for those devices to join the network and share the resources and contribute to the ecosystem. So that's why we believe blockchain is important to us, because we can combine the advantages of blockchain technology to provide credibility and incentives for the edge resources to contribute to the networks.
So in terms of the contents, and that we are building a platform and for people to exchange messages or contents. So we are trying to provide an environment and for people and could create content freely. And so actually content is not guilty, and no matter the content is good or not. But the way that people could exchange contents and could vary in different situations. And so blockchain is a very good tool and for all the messenger providers or content providers, and could do what they want and to create a better world. And so I do think that technology is not the only solve, the only way and to solve the problem, but blockchain will be maybe a very good move and for people and to for people who want to provide more contents. And Top Network is trying our best and for people and to do such thing. And maybe next weekend you can see that we are launching a very new DApp on Apple Store, and you may try it over here, download it in Vietnam. And so starting from here, and you can see that we are doing our job.
So for us, we are a blockchain platform. So blockchain is like everything we do. So I guess why blockchain? I think it goes back to our core philosophy. Why we start KardiaChain in the first place. Our core philosophy that we share between the team is that we believe in equality, fairness, and meritocracy. By equality here, I mean equal opportunity, that people should be deserved the opportunity to work, to start a business, to study, to access financial services. And we see that there's a huge friction in the world. Like for example, my background is finance, and in the finance world, you see that there's great discrepancy in terms of ability to invest, the access to information, the access to financial products between the people that are influential and have access to those information and the mass. And we see that one thing that blockchain do really well is that it's a foundational block for a flatter world, a world where everyone can start a business with a flick of a hand, where they're able to retain most of the economic value, where they are free to explore, to access financial service, to start a business. And at KardiaChain, our vision and what we want to do is to empower the blockchain ecosystem. And with that, I think we will bring the value of equality, fairness, and meritocracy. And I think it will be a great driving force for a better society and a more to move humanity forward.
All right, we got about 5 minutes left. Just like to open it up for anyone. If there's any questions in the audience, they'd like to ask the panelists. Anything tossed out? Yes. Can someone give him a mic? Here, I'll pass it along.
I have a challenge questions for KardiaChain. I stand from different standpoint that from the consumer. Going back to 2005 or 6, we also heard the story about Android, right? I can define that your platform is another kind of Android. So it means that when you want to launch a product successfully in the market, you need to solve people pain points, right? So the pain points can be solved by several technologies, not only by blockchains. For example, when you're talking about you were talking about the real-time transactions, financial real-time transactions. It's already happened in the Europe. Even now in the Europe, you don't need the credit card anymore because everything already connected to your mobile wallet. And now people are talking about touch. That is consumer experience. So my question is that, what is your plans to make your blockchain platform to be implemented look like another Android in the future in Vietnam and globally as well?
Yes. So I guess yes, for the question, of course, blockchain is not a tool to solve everything. It's only one tool in the toolbox. I'm not saying that blockchain can solve the world poverty tomorrow, but I think it's one of the essential toolbox in there. And there's a lot of things that blockchain alone cannot do. It's combined with AI, IoT, and other technologies, right, to achieve a certain goal. For comparing between KardiaChain and I think Android is that the similarity is that Android is an open source protocol, and what KardiaChain want to develop is an open source protocol as well. Blockchain at this stage, as we see it, is that it's still very early stage, especially in Vietnam. When you talk blockchain platform, people wonder like what is a real end use case, and around the world, I think in all developed country that blockchain spread. The blockchain platform, they already focus on the platform itself, and the developers, can focus on the solutions. They can develop their own solution. But here at KardiaChain, what we do is that we work with, our partners in government, in traditional business as developer, and we work with them in terms of developing a solutions that, we work with industry leaders, and they can take that solution there as an industry, the first mover, is create a ripple, a wave, right? And other players within the industry can follow. We basically provide them with the infrastructure, help them develop the proof of concept. And from there, they can go and spread the influence and spread the product and develop it further. And, other players within the industry can see and imitate and basically bring blockchain further.
Cool. So I think that wraps the panel aspect. But I'm sure you guys have a lot more questions. Feel free to reach out to these guys here and afterwards, and just throw your questions out and get those answers that you need. I think that's it. I think I'll pass this back to our moderator and MC. So thank you, panelists, and thank you, audience.
Thank you, panelists, and please take a group photo together.